Hello, everyone. Welcome to the new member orientation session. Thank you for tuning in. My name is Safra Najimuddin, and I'll be your co-presenter for this session. I'm a registered early childhood educator and a professional practice analyst at the college. Today, I'm accompanied by my colleague, Deb.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining. My name is Deb. I'm also a registered early childhood educator and a professional practice analyst, and will be co-facilitating with Safra today.
Okay, so here's what we'll cover in today's session. We're going to start with the role of the college, followed by professionalism and leadership. We'll then move on to discussing continuous professional learning, followed by guidance for transition to practice, and we'll finally end by going over the details of maintaining your registration with the college. So that's our agenda for this session. And let's get started. Okay, so let's start with an understanding of the role of the College of Early Childhood Educators. So starting with the Early Childhood Educators Act is a cornerstone of our profession and was passed in 2007. This legislation created the College of Early Childhood Educators, establishing our responsibilities as Ontario's regulatory body for early childhood educators. So, our primary mandate is to serve and protect the public interest. What sets Ontario apart from other provinces is its unique recognition of early childhood educators as a distinct profession in legislation, which means this grants us the authority to regulate our own practice. Okay, so when we move on to the next slide, we see an overview of how the college fulfills its mandate, which is to serve and protect the public interest. So this mandate is outlined in the ECE Act. We start with registration requirements. The Act specifically specifies educational and training requirements for registration, including the approved qualifications. Then we move on to the public register, which is an online tool for promoting transparency by listing all RECEs, their status, and any disciplinary actions to the public. We move on to the Code of Ethics, which is the document that defines the skills, knowledge, and values and behaviors RECEs must uphold, forming the foundation of professional and ethical practice. And then the next darker orange column focuses on continuing competence. Within this, we see the continuous professional learning program, which requires RECEs to engage in lifelong learning, demonstrating commitment to improving their practice. And finally, we have the complaints and discipline processes. The college investigates rare cases of misconduct where RECs fall short, potentially putting children or families at risk. These 5 processes hold RECs accountable, ensuring public trust and integrity of the profession. Okay. And here we see another piece of the sector. So the college often receives questions such as, why doesn't the college advocate for RECs? This is a common point of confusion, but it's important to understand the difference between regulation and advocacy. A strong profession relies on both a dedicated regulator, such as the college, and robust professional associations, each serving distinct but complementary roles. So the college, as a regulator, operates under the authority of the ECE Act. Its primary responsibilities include regulating the profession, supporting excellence in practice, and protecting children and families. These duties are focused on maintaining high standards of professionalism and public trust. And next, we have the advocacy bodies. So organizations such as the AECEO, which is the Association of Early Childhood Educators, and their French counterpart, FSAO, take on the role of advocacy. These organizations work to champion the interests of RECs by addressing issues such as wages, working conditions, and collective actions to drive positive change in the sector. While our objectives align in promoting the professionalism and recognition of RECs, as you can see, our roles are distinct. By collaborating with advocacy organizations, the college ensures that REC are recognized as leaders and professionals, while also upholding regulatory standards that define and strengthen the profession. Now we're going to move on to professionalism and leadership in the context of early childhood education. We'll start with a pause and reflect. So take a moment to reflect together. What does being a professional mean to you? How do you demonstrate professionalism in your daily practice? We encourage you to pause the recording here and take a few minutes to think about these questions. This reflection can help deepen your understanding of what professionalism truly looks like and how it's expressed in your role as an RECE. Okay. Next, we're going to look at the professional titles and professional designation. So, under the ECE Act, the titles Early Childhood Educator, ECE, and Registered Early Childhood Educator, RECE, along with their French equivalents, are legally protected. Only active members in good standing with the college can use these titles. Using these titles reinforces professionalism and credibility. RECEs are encouraged to include their designation in all professional communications, such as emails or interactions with families, colleagues, and any other documentation. This not only provides recognition, but also helps the public understand the skills and education RECEs bring to the profession. RECEs with additional designations, such as being an Ontario certified teacher, should include all relevant titles to accurately represent their qualifications. As you can see on the slide, the last signature includes Dominique Hassan, and you see RECE, and they have also included the Ontario certified teacher qualification as well. Additional information on title usage is available in the practice guideline on professionalism that's available on our website, and it's linked there as well. Okay. When we move on to ethical values, the college defines professionalism as being grounded in 4 core ethical values, and these are care, respect, trust, and integrity. These values guide every aspect of an RECE's work, from our interactions with children and families to collaborations with colleagues. They influence how RECEs communicate, collaborate, and make decisions, ensuring professionalism and ethical practice in all areas of their role. A key part of this professionalism is recognizing our personal beliefs and biases. RECEs have a responsibility to reflect on these to ensure they don't unintentionally impact their interactions with children, families, and colleagues. To support this reflection, the college offers resources and reflection guides on beliefs and biases, and that too is available on our website. Thinking about applying your knowledge and skill. So the college has established 6 core standards to guide all RECE's professional conduct across diverse roles and settings. RECEs contribute to the profession in various capacities, from working directly with children and families to roles in possibly post-secondary education, policy development, administration, and so on. Regardless of their specific role, all RECEs have a professional and legal obligation to uphold the code and standards. These standards are intentionally broad to ensure their relevance across different practice settings. While many RECEs are engaged in supporting children through licensed childcare or kindergarten programs, others make meaningful contributions to the sector, shaping the profession in significant ways through, again, post-secondary education, policy work, and so on. United by these 6 core standards, RECEs across Ontario demonstrate a shared commitment to professionalism, ethical practice, and the well-being of children, families, and the broader community. Moving on to decision-making and professional judgment, being an REC involves much more than following routines. It requires the use of professional judgment to navigate challenging situations and make complex decisions with care and expertise. The code and standards here serve as a vital resource for RECEs. It offers clear guidance during ethical dilemmas and ensures decisions align with the profession's expectations. We also have professional judgment, which is cultivated through education, hands-on experience, and collaboration with colleagues. Over time, this foundation strengthens, empowering RECEs to make sound and informed decisions. And the last piece that makes our professional judgment is reflective practice. Reflection is a cornerstone of professional judgment, enabling RECEs to continuously evaluate their decisions, recognize personal biases, and ensure their actions align with ethical and professional standards. To support RECEs in fulfilling these responsibilities, the college provides resources on professional judgment and ethical decision making. And then we move on to accountability and collective responsibility. So when we think about accountability, RECEs are accountable professionals who take personal responsibility for their decisions, actions, and interactions. This means consistently upholding ethical standards and making choices that reflect positively on their role and the profession as a whole. And when we think about collective responsibility, in addition to our personal accountability, RECEs embrace collective responsibility by supporting their colleagues. By sharing strengths, best practices, and insights, they contribute to improving the collective work of the profession. Moreover, RECs have an ethical duty to report any misconduct that could harm children or families, ensuring a safe and ethical environment for all. And building onto this, we also have the personal conduct piece. And REC's behavior, both professionally and personally, influences how the entire profession is perceived. Positive conduct enhances the profession's reputation, while negative actions can damage trust and have serious consequences. Together, accountability, collective responsibility, and professional conduct uphold excellence, safeguard integrity, and build trust in RECE's work with children, families, and the broader community. And moving on to leadership. So, leadership is a fundamental aspect of an RECE, extending far beyond formal ties or positions. Standard 4 of the Code and Standard highlights that all RECEs, regardless of their role, are expected to demonstrate leadership in their practice. So, leadership may involve engaging directly in the college's governance processes by joining the council or committees or serving as an REC advisors. These opportunities allow RECs to provide feedback, contribute insights, and help shape the direction of the profession. Lifelong learning also falls as a part of leadership. It's another essential form of leadership. By consistently seeking to expand your knowledge and skills, you model a commitment to personal and professional growth, inspiring others to strive for excellence in their practice. Leadership also emerges in everyday actions when we share knowledge, support colleagues, foster collaboration, and build strong and caring relationships with children, families, and peers. These small acts of leadership create meaningful impact within the profession and beyond. So, even as a new RECEs, we encourage you to demonstrate leadership. You have these opportunities to lead by reflecting on your strengths, identifying areas for growth, and applying your specialized knowledge and skills. So, the last piece on professionalism and leadership is just a recap of professionalism, that professionalism is built on the essential components that foster trust, uphold high standards, and strengthen the profession as a whole. So we see the four components here that have already been discussed. The protected title and public trust. This looks at the titles ECE and RECE signify a commitment to professional standards, enhancing public confidence in the expertise and integrity of our profession. Moving on to decision-making and professional judgment, which ensures ethical and thoughtful responses to the diverse and dynamic needs of our work, prioritizing the well-being of children and families. And then we move on to collective responsibilities. RECEs embrace both individual and collective responsibility, ensuring accountability for their actions while fostering a supportive and professional community. And finally, as discussed, we have leadership, which is demonstrated through active participation, peer collaboration, and dedicated lifelong learning. These efforts help RECEs stay current, refine their practice, and inspire positive change throughout their careers. Together, these elements form a comprehensive approach to professionalism, ensuring trust, ethical practice, and ongoing trust in the field of early childhood education. In the next part, Deb will guide you through the importance of professional learning. Over to you, Deb.
Thank you, Safra. All right, so like Safra said, this next part of the recording, we're going to talk about the continuous professional learning program at a high level and the importance of engaging in continuous professional learning throughout your careers. So we've got another pause and reflect here. So we encourage you to pause the recording at this time and think about, what are some of the benefits of ongoing professional learning for yourself as a new registered early childhood educator, as a professional, and why is ongoing learning important to you as a professional? So you can spend some time reflecting on these questions individually with peers and thinking about these pieces. Okay, so now we'll look a little bit at why professional learning and lifelong learning is important for RECEs. It's something that as RECEs we really should value, is dedicating ourselves to being lifelong learners. The How Does Learning Happen talks about children being curious, competent, and rich in potential, and that impacts our image of the child. But that How Does Learning Happen also speaks about the fact that educators are curious, competent, and rich in potential. And we feed those pieces through engaging in lifelong learning and engaging in ongoing professional learning. So as RECEs, you are reflective and intentional professionals who are learners and leaders. And so engaging in ongoing learning helps to do a number of things. It supports to contribute to improving quality in early childhood education for children, families, communities, and the overall profession. It helps you adapt to changes in the early learning and childcare sector. And I would also add to that, it helps you to adapt to changes and keep up your learning in terms of changes within society and to be able to support diverse children and families in your role. It helps you to apply research, theories, and different practices. It helps you to collaborate to create inclusive and equitable environments where, all children and families are truly feeling that sense of belonging in the program or the early learning environment. And it helps you to support advancing the profession in your workplace and in the broader community. So here's a look at the overall college's continuous professional learning program. So like Safra mentioned, the continuous professional learning program is mandatory for all RECEs in order for them to maintain their registration with the college. As RECEs in your first year of membership, your CPL requirements are going to be those educational components in the blue there. So the expectations for practice module and the sexual abuse prevention program. So the educational components have to be finished before you renew your membership for the first time. And then After you renew your membership, you will begin the CPL portfolio cycle. So we won't be going into details around the educational components in this recording. However, if you would like to find additional information about the CPL programs, there's a number of different information sources. So one is the Notice of Continuous Professional Learning Program Requirements. This document can be found on our website, and it outlines the overall CPL program and what is expected of all members. You'll also be invited, so stay tuned to your email for an invitation to the CPL for New RECE's webinar, and that will cover the educational components in detail, as well as some other information related to the college's CPL program. And there will also be a recording of that webinar available on the website if you wanted to check that out. We encourage you to navigate the Continuous Professional Learning page on the college's website for videos and other resources. And lastly, to access the educational components, so the expectations for practice module and the sexual abuse prevention program, you access those through My College account. So you log into My College account and click on the Continuous Professional Learning tab, and then you'll see the access buttons for both of those pieces there, and you click it and it will take you to the appropriate platform. And please know that if you have questions about the Continuous Professional Learning Program at any point or need support with it, you can always contact the college at that number and select option 2, or you can email us at cpl@college-ece.ca at any time. Okay, so now we're going to transition into some guidance for transitioning to practice as a new RECE. So this transition that you're currently in from a student to being a practicing registered early childhood educator is a very exciting step. And so on the next couple of slides here, we're just looking to share some guidance and some information with you to support you throughout this step, because as exciting as it can be, we know there's probably a lot of questions as well. And so this slide is just focusing on some areas of reflection. And these questions, are relevant to RECEs at any point throughout their career, but especially as a newly registered early childhood educator, some things that we encourage you to think about are, what are your strengths and skills in practice? How have unique circumstances that you may have faced helped you to prepare to enter professional practice? And when you're thinking about those things, think about how you might share those things with your employer. So how might you share strengths? How might you share your past experiences? And those could be, thinking about that question can also prepare you for interviews, because that might be a question that you're asked in an interview setting, is to share some of your strengths or share some of your past experiences and how you've grown or learned from them. And then another area that's important to think about is some areas for further development. So what areas of practice maybe have you had less experience with? So perhaps in your practicum experience, you never had the opportunity to work in an infant room, or you never had an opportunity to work in an early on setting. And those are some experiences that you want to have and learn more about. And then what areas of practice do you want to develop further? So maybe communicating with families is an area of practice you want to develop further. Or maybe your knowledge of Indigenous practices and reconciliation is an area that you want to develop further. So in addition to thinking about your strengths, what are those areas that you would like to continue to develop for yourself? Some other ideas that we'd like to share really focus on connection, and you'll see connection as a theme throughout the next couple of slides. But, as a new RECE, it's really important that you're building connections for yourself and you're building relationships with other professionals. So in addition to sharing, your strengths and experiences with your employers and colleagues, branching out and finding what other areas there are to form those connections. So participating in a community of practice, for example, There are communities of practice being offered by the professional associations. So Safra mentioned the AECEO or the FSAOs, the French equivalent. They have a number of different communities of practice that they're offering across Ontario, and it's a great way to meet people and build connections and share and learn with and from others. Maybe there's a community of practice happening within your workplace setting. Maybe there's one you've found virtually that you want to participate in with colleagues or other RECE communities. And then also finding and engaging in professional learning for yourself. So your professional learning can look whichever way you want it to. There's amazing webinars out there, podcasts, readings, College Talk blog, which is our blog that we publish at the college. And professional associations are going to offer different professional learning opportunities. So really spending time to seek out some learning opportunities and then engage in that. And again, here, focusing on those professional relationships and connections that you're building. So consider finding and forming connections with maybe an RECE practice companion, a mentor, a professional friend. Maybe there's someone at your workplace who you really connect with, and you want to have that person as a practice companion or a mentor. Maybe there's someone from your program, from your educational background that you connected with and you've maintained a relationship with. The bottom point there says to maintain those professional relationships with your instructors, with your practicum connections, practicum supervisors, et cetera. It's important to build that network for yourself. Those are people that you can lean on throughout your careers and ask questions to and learn from. There's also going to be different opportunities based on where you are in Ontario. So whatever region, municipality, county, district that you might be in, there's going to be different opportunities for learning and for networking and for connections. So we encourage you to check those out. So some questions, again, feel free to pause the recording here, but think about, how are you building and maintaining professional relationships and connections? And then what strategies perhaps have you used for applying to jobs? And there were some questions in the previous slides as well to support you in maybe preparing for those interview processes and whatnot. Okay, so here on this slide, we really wanted to highlight the importance or the fact that the practice of early childhood education and care is a care and relationship-based practice. And I'm sure this is something you talked about in your post-secondary studies, but the care and the relationship piece really is foundational to the practice of early childhood education and care. So those caring and responsive relationships that you're forming with children, families, colleagues, and the broader community as well are going to be fundamental to providing equitable, high-quality early learning programs. We know and understand that developing responsive relationships takes time, but it should be a daily focus for you in your practice. And it's also an essential building block to every other aspect of practice, and that's referencing these other areas of practice here on the slide. So care and relationship informs the way you communicate and collaborate with others. It's going to inform your professional supervision strategies of children. It's going to support the way you have positive interactions with children. It's going to support you in being able to maintain professional boundaries with your colleagues, with families, with the children as well. And it's also going to inform your pedagogy and the way that you develop and create curriculum for children in your program. So your professional relationships really support you in meeting the needs and best interests of children and families. It supports you in applying your professional judgment and also navigating challenging decisions or practice areas. Okay, so another pause and reflect here. So think about, where can you seek support or guidance with practice? So maybe you're thinking about some of those areas for further development, and now think about, where can you seek some support or guidance with those practice areas? Maybe it's a person, maybe it's a platform online, maybe it's a resource center, thinking about those sorts of things. And then how might you approach your supervisor for support with your professional practice? So maybe there's, an area that you would like to develop further, for example, learning about supporting or including children with disabilities. And so maybe thinking about how you would approach your supervisor around that. And actually practicing what you might say. I find that really helpful in preparing for something like an interview or a conversation I'm going to have, is actually, saying out loud what I'm going to say in those situations. And I find it helps me when the actual situation arises. Okay. Here we're just highlighting some of our practice resources. So these can all be found on the college's website under the resources tab. We have practice guidelines, practice notes, professional advisories. Our blog is College Talk. We also have a campaign called Standards in Practice that also has a number of different resources, and definitely encourage you to get familiar with the website and check out these resources as well. And then we also have a specific web page that was designed specifically for new members of the profession. So if you go to the members tab, you'll be able to find this page. It's called New Member Resources. So you can find resources designed to help you understand the role of the college and support you as you begin your journey in the early years sector. And you'll be able to find the resources that are specifically supportive to new members of the profession on that page as well. Okay, so we're going to get into the last section here of this session. So it's on maintaining registration. Okay, so My College Account, you should be familiar with My College Account. It's the platform you would have used to apply to the college when you were going through that application process. So you would have made an account. So you should have access to My College Account. If you ever come across some issues with password or anything like that, you can always reach out to the college and they can support you in navigating that and resetting your password. But we just wanted to go over a couple of the key features in My College Account. Particularly, this is looking at the Continuous Professional Learning tab. So like we mentioned earlier, this is where you're going to be able to access the Expectations for Practice module, and it's also where you're going to access the Sexual Abuse Prevention program. And note around the Expectations for Practice module, if you haven't yet completed that module, a lot of the information we're sharing here today is going to be covered in a lot more detail in that Expectations for Practice module. So know that you can use that as a review of what was talked about here today, but also to go a bit deeper in your learning around some of those pieces. So My College Account, where you're going to access the educational component under the Continuous Professional Learning tab. You can also view your CPL program details. So that cycle details table, the purpose of that is to tell you what your continuous professional learning program requirement is for the membership year that you're in. So this would be what a new member would see. It will tell them that their CPL requirements are the modules Expectations for Practice module and the Sexual Abuse Prevention program. It tells them when they have to have those requirements finished. So what is the end date? And the end date is going to be before you renew your membership for the first time. And then those complete and declaration columns, those are going to stay blank until you renew your membership. And when you come to the renewal form, which we have a slide for next, you're going to be asked to declare if you've completed your CPL requirements or not. And so whatever you declare on your renewal form, that's what will be reflected in those columns there. The second table at the bottom is the educational requirements table. So this is a table that you can use to double check that you have completed the requirements for expectations for practice and the sexual abuse prevention program. So you can see that it has the module name. So this person completed the expectations for practice module. They can double check that completion date. And for the sexual abuse prevention program, it's going to show two of the components, Commit to Kids and Teach Retells, because those are the only two components that report back to the college. So you'll be able to double check your completion as well for those two pieces by checking out the educational requirements table in your My College account. And then something else that you can do in your My College account under the CPL tab here is start a CPL deferral request. So again, the CPL webinar for new RECEs will go into more detail around what a deferral is. But at a high level, if you're ever faced with an extenuating circumstance, such as personal hardship, disability, sickness, parental leave, etc., anything that's preventing you from completing your CPL requirements for a membership year, you can request a CPL deferral. Other things that you can do in My College account are things like renew your membership. So it's what you're going to have to use when renewal time comes around. Each year when you renew your membership, it will be done through My College account. So you can find your renewal status and due date as well. There's a renewal tab as one of the options up there. Another thing you can do is go to the receipts tab, and you'll be able to download or print any of your past receipts. So if you need them for income tax purposes, for example, you're able to print those directly from there. And then there's also a tab that has personal information. And so you can update your personal contact information through My College account as well. And it's important to keep your contact information up to date, especially email, because email is the #1 way that the college communicates with its members. And there's some important communications sometimes that are sent through email. So important that you have one on file that is up to date. Okay, so now we'll talk a bit more about the annual renewal. So as an RECE, you do have a professional responsibility to renew your membership with the college annually. So you can do so either before or during the month in which your certificate of registration was issued. So the month that your certificate of registration was issued is going to be called your renewal month, and it's going to stay as your renewal month for as long as you maintain membership with the college. So if you became a member in October, for example, then that October will be your renewal month moving forward. Please know that the college will also send you a reminder 2 months prior to when your renewal is due. So your renewal month will open up 2 months before the month that your renewal is actually due. And you have the opportunity to renew up to 2 months prior. Also, around the renewal month piece is that your renewal does have to be submitted by the last day in your renewal month to prevent a late fee. Okay, so now let's look a bit more closely at the renewal process. So the couple bullets here on the slide. So the renewal process allows the college to do a number of different things. And when it comes time for your renewal, you'll see that there is a renewal form that you have to fill out and provide some information on. So you're going to be doing things like updating your personal and employment information. That helps the college to verify your key information on file. It helps us to ensure that that's remaining up to date and that we have the most up-to-date information for you. You'll confirm your CPL compliance. So that's what I was alluding to on the previous slide. So one of the questions that you're going to come across, and we'll get into it in more detail in the next slide, is to confirm whether you have completed your CPL requirements for the membership year or not. The next one is around identifying issues potentially affecting practice. So Renewal allows the college to check in with members about issues that are important for the protection and safety of children and families. So the purpose of this section is for members to self-report on circumstances that may potentially affect their ability to safely practice the profession or create a risk of harm to children. The college has a duty to ask these questions to help serve and protect children and families. And lastly, the last step in the renewal process is to pay the membership renewal fee in full for your renewal to be processed. Okay, so here's a closer look at that confirming CPL compliance at renewal. So that's a screenshot actually of what the question will look like on your renewal form. And it's important to be answering this question honestly regarding the expectations for practice module and the sexual abuse prevention program. So you'll confirm completion of those educational requirements. You'll check off yes to each of those pieces if you have completed them, if you have complied. And you'll have to check off no if you have not. So one thing to note is that, if you do check off no to either of those questions because you haven't completed them, know that it will not prevent your renewal from being processed if all other renewal criteria has been met. What will happen if you answer no is that the college will follow up with you via email to provide instructions and a timeline to complete your CPL program requirements. And if you do check off yes to these questions when in fact the requirements are not complete, that is called making a false declaration, and it could be considered professional misconduct. Just a reminder that the college does receive notifications when each of the educational components is complete. So the college will use that data to check it against what a member declares on their renewal form. And like we covered a bit earlier, you can check completion dates in your My College account. So if you're not fully sure if you've completed those, the expectations for practice and the sexual abuse prevention program before you renew, definitely encourage you to double check those completion dates in your My College account. Okay, so we just wanted to lastly highlight some practice information and support areas. So our website, college-ece.ca, is where you can find information related to any of the resources we have, such as practice guidelines, the CPL program, anything like that. Also encourage you to check your emails and review your emails from the college for important information about your membership, CPL requirements, upcoming webinars or things that may be happening, college updates, as well as our member newsletter titled Connections. So you'll receive that through email as well. And again, if you have any questions related to practice, related to the continuous professional learning program, or anything related to the college, please know that you can contact us. You can call us and select 2 to get in touch with the professional practice department directly, or you can email us at practice@college-ece.ca.
Thank you, Deb, for going over the information on the CPL, transitioning to practice, and also maintaining registration. Thank you so much for that. And thank you for your attention and engagement throughout this session. As this is a recording, as Deb pointed out already, if you have any questions or need further information, we encourage you to reach out to us, and our contact information is on the previous slide, and we are always happy to assist you. We hope you found this session helpful, and thank you for your participation. We look forward to supporting you on your professional journey. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.